Good morning, everyone. Today we have Dr. Bhargav Rajya sir with us, who is Associate Professor at Faculty of Computer Applications, Noble University, Junagadh, and he will going to talk about databases and research metrics. So, welcome, sir. You can start now.
Thank you so much, sir. So, as introduced, sir, thank you so much for introducing me in front of audience. I hope you are audible now.
Yes, yes, sir.
Before start, okay, thank you, sir. Uh, Once again, very good morning to all. As we all are researchers and we are making first step in the field of research. So, Anveshana Navanmesha Pragatihi, that means research, innovation, and progress. That is our core concept through which we can begin our life from Mr. to Doctor, MR to DR. That is the purpose. So, here we have a basic theme, that is database matrix, and what are the matrices available within the research. So navigating the academic publishing landscape from which we are starting, myself, Dr. Bhargav Rajyagur, I have worked with artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, computer vision. My major contribution, that is a handwritten character data set that is available with 1,75,000 images. Recently, we have worked with healthcare segment with Government of India, ANRF. These are my research profiles. Why I am showing these research profiles? Uh, with this, you may also create, or there is some necessity to create this kind of profiles at the mid of your journey, research journey, or you can use anywhere in your this research journey. Or ORCID, Scopus, Google Scholar, Vidwan, Web of Science, ResearchGate, etc. There are platforms on which we can create this kind of profile. This profile record our publications. So that is a very useful for us. In today's seminar, we will discuss, these are the agendas. In first, we are discussing about the research database ecosystem. In that, we are discussing what about the research database and what is the role of Google Scholar, Scopus, as well as Web of Science. After that, we are also discussing indexing and database types. In this particular segment, we are discussing why indexing matters, or what about the role of indexing, and which kind of databases available with publications. In between, we are also making some measurable comparisons between two major data sets, Scopus as well as Web of Science. Next agenda, we are discussing the general research matrix. In that, there are four pillars, or we can say that there are four major segments through which we can identify which journal is most preferable or which journal is most appropriate for our publication. In this, we are discussing what about the impact factor, what is site score, source normalized impact per paper, SNIP, and lastly, we are discussing SGR. Next agenda, we are discussing about H index, I10 index, G index, and Altmetrics. Altmetrics, that is a newly introduced concept, and in that we are also measure the citations or reach out the paper within publicly available data set or publicly available platforms. Likewise, LinkedIn, YouTube, these are the social media we can collect in this Altmetrics. We have a decision framework. There are 8 measure points. Using these points, we can identify where to publish our valuable paper or article. So we are also discussing this. In that, we have to identify the scope, index verification, quartiles, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, journal metrics, review timeline, APC transparency. What about the publication ethics? What they are using, and predatory detection. These are the 8 points through which we can make our decision. After that, we have strategic publishing planning. We have core principles, what to do and what not to do, as well as we also prioritize where to publish our journals. Using these all the matrices, using these all the keynotes, we verify our journal and indexing before the submit. We are using matrices in the combination. We can match the scope and build that's for long-term duration. So these are our journey for today's 1 hour in which we are discussing. So let us start in deep dive into the detailed discussion right now. So our first topic is the research database ecosystem. Meanwhile, if there is any question, we have separately last minutes in which we can discuss about the our topic related topics. So first one, what about the database? Generally, we are discussing about the database in which we can store the information. As a student, we are making some projects. We are making some collection of material. We are collecting the information in which we can use, that is a database. Rather than this normal traditional database, in research particular database system, we are using such kind of a repository. At there, we have multiple documents, articles, journals through which we can identify something. What about the recent, what about our research and what is research is going on? So that perspective, we can use the database. So that is a research database ecosystem. In this, we can also say that that is a structural digital platform, one kind of digital platform in which there are so many things. As I have discussed recently, articles, theses, dissertations, all the documents are combined. Likewise, Shodhganga. Shodhganga, that is a very beautiful database through which we can identify, through which we can collect the material or articles. What it says in this particular database, we have academic hub. What about the academic hub? That means through which we can collect scholars, research scholars like us, PhD students, can identify which kind of database is required, which kind of articles are required. So that is the academic hub. Smart tool that is equipped with advanced search. Likewise, Template Lab, they are providing Shodhganga, Shodhgangotri. So from using that tool, we can easily identify our research area. What are the articles we needed? So that is the database, and we can use the smart tool. We can also identify the insights. We have bibliography. What about the bibliography? At the last, we are mentioning the number of references through which we are accessing the data or through which we are cited that data. So, with the bibliography analysis, we can directly identify which kind of content that can be produced in our paper or article. What this database covers, in this particular database, journals, conference papers, thesis, dissertations, patterns, book chapters, dataset supplementary files. Say, for example, a people have placed their dataset on IEEE data port. Dataset consists of air quality. That means a particular location with the air quality indices, carbon dioxide as well as methane. What about the level of carbon dioxide at particular place? Some author have designed this data set and placed on the data port, IEEE data port. So that database can analyze and make further study. So that is a benefit through which we can identify, through which we can place the database. There are some core components in this particular database. Core components, that means who have written this database, who are the authors, authors affiliation, some keynote, abstract, brief introduction for that particular database, why that database is created, keywords related to database. We also identify the journal and year of the database, but in which particular year they have introduced this database. Citation count that can be helpful for funding as well as ORCID. So these are the core components related to database. Recently, we are discussing the role of database, the role of documents in that particular database. Now, each database have a metadata. That means metadata that reflects data about the data. Say, for example, as we have discussed recently, we have one database related to air quality index, in which we are measuring the carbon dioxide. So, CO2, that is the information in that particular data set. CH4, methane, that is the information of that particular database. In the computer language, in research data set, we can say that these are the features of data. So features of data that can be identified as a metadata. That's why metadata play a critical role that will be help to identify as well as help to get retrieve the data. What are the benefits? You can see in the right hand side, through which metadata we can make a fast searching. We have CO2. So that implies whenever we are searching for CO2, it will directly pass the data. Precise filtering. Rather than that, it will discard all the data set. Just they will retrieve for the CO2. If we are finding the data for methane, CH4, then it will precisely filter in the data and give me the data set for that particular elements only. Citation analysis as well as research mapping. Whatever the research we are continuing, that is mapping with the metadata. So that is the role of metadata. How you can identify, we have one example, another example. See, we have one methodology or we have to identify medicine plants for diabetes. Which are the plants can be helped to diagnose or to make some diabetic patients diagnosis. So we can use this study on the neem, tulsi, and very few on the rare regional plants. So We are searching for these particular plants that are used for diabetic patients. So that is a filtration. Using this metadata, we can search literature very easily. We can find easily, as well as we can identify the research gap. Previously, whatever the content is going on, and where we are standing at the last, we can identify the research gap. And through this research gap, we can identify the novelty. On this novelty, we can make our research progress. So that is the benefit of metadata. Why research data sets are essential for the gap identification, literature review, journal selection. From these two, we have already discussed for the journal selection. Some kind of data set, say for example, IEEE, they are most focusing on the engineering concepts, computer applications. So if we have the information which kind of data we have, so we can easily identify the general selection, as well as citation tracking. Which journal have major citations, which journal have the major impact, so that journal we can choose for publishing our data. So that is a requirement to know data set, through which if we have literature review, we can identify the data set through literature review. So we have the source detail. We can identify the quality as well as funding through the data set and with the literature review. See, we have data set and we have literature review. Both are combining that can identify the quality of the paper, quality of the journal. We can categorize the quality journals into Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So we can identify which kind of quality, and we can measure the document matrices. How you can select the high quality journals with this particular data set? So indexing, matrices, and repetition. Some journals have measure indexing factor. Say, for example, these journals are using Scopus as well as Web of Science indexing. So we can say that these are the reputed journals. We can find out the matrices for site score, SGR, impact factor, quartile verifications. These are the use of data set. Now, citations tracking as well as research impact, through which we can also identify the data set. Who cite this? Who have already cited this particular journal? We can also identify some reputed institutions or some IITs or IAMS in particular Indian sector. So we can say that if they have cited this journal, so we can blindly trust on that. That is how we can track the citations. If particular journal have major citations, say for example 500 citations, so we can make a trust that this journal is reputed, and using that we can publish our data. H-index support and research trend we can identify with the data set. We have three journal data sets available: Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Science. These major dataset platforms uses our documentary repositories. So we can say that if we know these three data sets, Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Science, so half of the journey, half of the task is reduced almost. How you can compare the data set with the coverage of that particular data set, citations they have received, resonancy, and source types, what they have stored in their repository, through which we can identify the data set. Data set comparison framework, research, Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Science. You may find out the difference between these particular data set related to citations. So one suggestion from this: search intelligently, and research powerfully. So you can begin your journey with the dataset. Now move on the next part, second one, that is indices. Mm. So now after database, we have measured indexing and database type. Which kind of indexings are available and why indexing are important usually? So we can say that research quality assessment and scholar visibility. There are two segments. Research quality, what about the research we have provided to measure the quality of that particular research, and scholars visibility, that two paradigm, that two aspects are used while indexing. What indexing and why that is it matters. So with the indexing we can make the editorial studies. Editorial board, that is a major segment while we are approaching for the journals. So editorial board, there are some standards. They are following some standards. Technical compliances and global research. These three pillars are used for the indexing. What about the indexing? Here we have very precisely noted that scholarly databases functions as a rigorous gatekeeper. Lemon people, lemon journals cannot be identified as a particular research gap. So we have to identify which journal have major indexing power. This particular journal we are using, and with this indexing we can enhance the global research visibility. If I am publishing my paper in a very high index factor, say for example 5.3, so 5.3 index factor having a journal that can be accessible throughout the world, so that is usability of global research visibility. Everybody can access your paper, so that is a very high chances to grow your citations, and you have global research visibility with a more citation power. So definitely you can make a academic recognition, Scopus, Web of Science, and you can also make your data from the protected way. So these are the indexing are used. Which research databases are available? So we have four database types of database. First one, citations database, bibliographical database, subject specific database, and last one, that is open access discovery. Citations database, Scopus, Web of Science. These both uses the citations database, while bibliographical database, that is used with elsewhere journals. They are publishing literature review, and that's why they are using bibliographic database. Subject specific database, PubMed, as you can see here with the third PubMed. These are the journal that can be used for a specific data set. IEEE Explore, that is used and specialized data set for engineering, as well as if you want to publish your data with artificial intelligence or machine learning, so you can approach for IEEE Explorer. Open access database, in this kind of journal, if you are using multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary data set, so you can use peer review journal, and that covers with open access discovery. So we have four basic types of research database: citation database, bibliographic database, subject specific database, as well as open access discovery. Now, how you can identify the indexing? This is more crucial part, and we all, as a research scholar, we have to identify how you can verify your indexing. So if you want to identify some particular journal, task 1, you can identify Scopus verification with ISSN publisher, citation score, active coverage status, through which we can identify the Scopus verification. Another one, that is Web of Science. You can verify the SSCI classification, publisher details, and subject category, through which you can identify the Web of Science. And lastly, open access. These kind of journals are using for peer review model. In between, I have one practical session, practical list out. So we can identify the Scopus, Google Scholar, as well as Web of Science. So as here, we have the window of Scopus. You have institutional registration login credentials or personal login credentials. You can search from here. Say for example, here we have criteria. You can search with this particular criteria, subject area, title, publisher, or ISSN. Say for example, I'm using here you can see title. I'm using subject area. So here we have so many subject areas. From among these, you can select any one of. Say for example, I biology. So we have multiple journals, multiple areas related to biology. Suppose I am selecting the cell biology. So click over here and apply. It will give me list of journals, a particular list of journals in which we can identify the journals related to cell biology. Among these, you can identify any one of these. I am selecting cell metabolism. Click on that. You can directly find a page in which we have a structure. We have a information for this particular journal. Right? This is the journal. Who is the publisher? We have information related to publisher. Elsewhere, we have ISSN number, that is here. Electronic ISSN number, that is here. Subject area, biochemistry, genetics and molecular biology, psychology, these are the subject area. We have clearly mentioned that years currently covered by Scopus that we have to identify. This is a major misleading concept. Just we have some of the journals are fake, not an original journals. So either the scope of journal, coverage of journal in the Scopus is terminated in previous years. Rather than that, they are using, we are listed with the Scopus. So you can directly identify this particular journal have the coverage from 2005 to 2026. That means recently this journal within the Scopus that we have to identify. Here we have site score, that is 45.5. That is absolutely fine. You can find this site score. What about the site score? Site score measure average citations received per document public in a serial. That means whatever the results you can see here, 45.5. These all precisions are covered in the last 4 years. You can calculate over here. We have the information 45.5. So total citations available with this journal cell metabolism have 27966 citations from 2021 to 2024. That is 21, 22, 23, and 24. We have 4 year gap. They uses span of 4 years. In this particular span, they have received 641 documents. So on an average, whatever the documents they have received, document that means number of papers, articles that are scrutinized after the editorial board, and they have fulfilled all the requirements for this particular journal publication. So that is total 614 documents received in 2021 to 2024. In these particular documents, they have received the citations of 27966. So division of 27966 divided by 614, that is the 44.45.5. That is the site score for this particular journal. You can also identify higher the site score, that means they have reputed publications. The articles, whatever, whichever they have received, that are more valuable. So that is the Scopus. In particular, Google Scholar, you can identify. Suppose I am searching healthcare. So there are so many papers you can identify from here. There is a database. In this particular database, you can identify the related papers. You can filter out the year. You can also make the customized range. I am describing in the left side panel. This particular customized range, you can identify whatever the years. If you want to generalize, you want to identify the particular author's uh, visibility or author's credibility, then a particular author, that means Dr. Bhargav Rajigur, have citations of 63, H index that is 4, I10 index that is 4. You can directly identify the particular author with citations. So you can sort the database with author name, author profiles also. What about the citations? That means whatever the papers, articles I have published, all the range of these articles, among these, I have received total 63 citations. What about the H index? That means whatever the results, whatever the citations I have, in that all the papers have minimum 4 citations. And I10 index, that is 4. Recently, I have published these many publications. Among these, just 1, 2, 3, and 4. Top 4 site papers received more than 10 or 10 citations, so that is 4. So I have clear what about the citations, what is H index, and what is I10 index related to Google Scholar. Now for the elsewhere journals, Web of Science, you can find out the elsewhere journals from here. Here we have Journal Finder publication. You can directly match the abstract. If you have abstract, then you can directly copy and paste your abstract. It will identify the suitable journal in which you can publish your paper. Recently, we are making some example related to keywords. Suppose I want to identify air quality. So we have one paper, Journal of Air Transport Management. That is the journal, name of journal. So you same as a Scopus, you can identify the impact factor, that is 3.6, a good one. Site score, that is 9.4. Submission, also we have decided whatever the decision after publishing, after providing our paper to that particular journal. They have make the first decision within the 29 days, and acceptance to publication after making the decision. If you are completing all the requirements, then that is within the 8 days they will accept and publish. We have identified the APC, that also we will discuss in later on session, later on slides. So these are the data set in which we can easily identify These are the journals. So come back to the session. We have Scopus verification, Web of Science verification, and DOAJ. Scopus, that is Scopus website, Web of Science elsewhere, and DOAJ that we can consider as a Google Scholar. Now we have to identify the predatory journals. That means a journals that mislead as a replicate copy of the original one. So we have to identify these kind of journals. They are fabricating false indexing claims. They are copy paste the index from Scopus that is not actually on the Scopus website. They are functioning with the editorial board. Some name of members they are mentioning that are not exactly available in the editorial board. There are stolen titles, journal titles to make as the original one. So these are the paradigm approaches we have to identify the fact journals. We have small suggestion, verify first and publish smartly, right? So this is all about the indexing. Now move for the now we have journal matrix, research matrix. Exactly, journal research matrix that denotes which kind of indexing, which kind of benchmarks, which kind of publication are available with this journal. This whole about the research matrix. So you can identify the research matrix and they can use to visualize to make the clarity about journal quality. If the journal have major citations, if the journal have great impact factor, that but obvious you can approach this journal. So with the research matrix, you can identify the journal quality, citations visibility, research suitability. Nobody can publish your data, your paper. Say, for example, I am from the computer science background, so I am not publishing my data with the humanity, a journal that deals with the humanity. That is interdisciplinary, but that is not a exactly perfect way. So research suitability in which you can identify, you can publish your data. So that identify with the journal matrices. Quartile ranking Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. These are the quartile ranking. So you can identify the quartiles Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Top 25 journals resides in a Q1. Next, Q2 and Q3 journals have a almost next level and Q4 for the beginners. These are the quartile ranking. Institutional reporting and funding proposals. With the help of good journals, we can make the proposals for funding. DST as well as Anusandhan also provides some funding supports to the researchers. So you can identify, you can make your paper, you can publish your paper in this such kind of reputed journals. Why journal metrics are required? So with the reputed journals, with the high power capability journal, you can make the international recognition. Suppose you are using one data set to publish your data set, you are using data in brief. So data in brief, a name of journal that uses international standards. So we are getting reach out the international recognition. We are using the reputed database indexes, citations performance, as well as career advancement. Now we have four major pillars for matrix, research matrix. In that first one, that is impact factor, we have a very good look. Impact factor, what about that? Impact factor is among the most globally recognized journal evaluation metrics. That is a matrix, it will evaluate the performance of journal, and this report is published annually, maybe in December. So how it will calculate? In that first we are measuring the calculation window. We are using 2 year, previously subsequently 2 years of gap. Last 2 years, how many papers we have collected? What about the citations in particular journal? That indicate the impact factor. Here we have calculation. If citations in current 2 year, current year to papers from the previous 2 years, divide by total citable papers in these 2 years. So we are using the calculation window, that is 2 years. So as an example, we have total 660 citations for that particular journal. And in this particular journal, we have 220 papers. With the help of 220, 220 papers, we are this journal getting the citations of 660. So 660 divided by 220, that is 3. 3 impact factor for that particular journal. That is the very easiest way to identify the impact factor. Recently, we are using impact factor to select the journal in which we can publish your data. I suggest impact factor should be greater than 2. That is very beneficial for publishing our data. Now, second matrix is, that is site score. That is total site score. We have a window of 4 years. Total window of 4 years. That means we are using data. We are using the articles in previous 4 years. So same here. Total citations available in last 4 years for particular journal, and total articles, with that articles we are receiving the citations, total of these documents. So total number of citations divided by total documents in last 4 years. IF, impact factor, that uses the window of 2 year, site score, that uses the window of 4 year. Impact factor uses Scopus journals, while site score uses Web of Science. As an example, if a particular journal have 1200 citations with the help of 400 papers, so site score is 3. Site scores are especially valuable for computer science, artificial intelligence, data science, social science, engineering, as well as so many areas. Third one, that is source normalized impact factor. Now we will clarify the difference. Impact factor, it covers the all the documents irrelevant of the specific domain. Site score, same here, but they are using a specific with a journal. Now, if we are using specific for a particular journal or a particular subject area, we are using neuroscience. So we approaching a journal, they have published paper related to neuroscience. And if we are using the multidisciplinary aspect, then we can identify the journals, they are using artificial intelligence with the neuroscience biological approach. So these journals focused on normalized impact, and they have measure weightage for the papers available from the reputed prestigious journals. They are not directly access the papers which are the available in the open access. If source normalized impact factor per paper, if one, that is the world average. You can consider as an average citations, average journal. If SNIP is that is a greater than one, that is above field average, and below one, that we are not considering. Next matrix is that is SCI Mago or Sky Mago. We can also pronounce somebody pronounces as a Sky Mago or SCI Mago. That particular index matrices used to identify the journals resides with quartiles Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 journals. If you have a SkyMago journal rank is higher, then your paper, your journal will reside in the first quartile, that is Q1. Likewise, it can be decreased and you can also categorize with Q2, Q3, and Q4 journals. Somehow, with the Q4 journals, we are not saying that Q4 journals are not very impactful or very not useful for the research perspective. We have Q4 journals that are with a specific domain. Say, for example, medical science. So, medical science papers are not very cited. Perhaps they are not cited, but it covers very impactful knowledge. So that is another background aspect. And SGR, SCI Mago journal rank, in short, we can also say that SGR, it both measures on citation quantity as well as prestige of citing journals. That means they are using some journals that are already very good impact factor as well as site scores. As for the illustrations, we have journal A with 100 citations from low prestige journals and journal B with 50 citations from the Nature, IEEE, SCM journals. So SGR rank is higher than the journal of B. So that is an illustrative example with SGR. So we have comparison, impact factor, site score, SNIP, and SGR. So impact factor, generally we are using window of 2 years. Site score, we are using window of 4 year. SNIP, that is particular for field normalization, while SGR, that uses for precise weightage. Weightage means impact factor, we have database like Web of Science or JCR. Site score, we are using Scopus, SNIP again Scopus, SGR, Scopus with SCI Mark. So this is a very rough but precise comparative study. What about the impact factor? What is site score? What is SNIP? And what is SGI? We have to identify the matrices. If we are using quick repetition, then we have to use impact factor. If we are using Scopus submission, then we have to identify the site score as well as SGR. If we are using interdisciplinary aspect, then we are using SNIP, normalized impact, and we are strictly follow the quartile based publications. Then we have to use SGR. With this, we have to identify this particular 9 points journal selection checklist. Scopus index confirm, Web of Science confirm, site scores reviewed and benchmarked, quartiles, SNIP assessed, journal scope aligned with the topic, review acceptance timeline confirm. What about the publication charges and publishers credibility and ethical variations? So this is the index factor, and we have matrices. We have another one. Uh, all the researchers, all the research scholars majorly focus on these particular matrices, research matrix. Research matrix author level indicators. We can identify some author, uh, authenticity of that particular author or visibility of that particular author. So we have they are visible or not. So we can identify Google Scholar, Scopus author profile, Web of Science researcher profile, or ORCID link profile. Now we have H index that already we have discussed. H index that is used for quantity, quality, and consistency. With the higher H index, we can identify a particular author have regularly, continuously published their work, and this work is dominant to the research area. We have one example. Let us see. We have six papers. In these six papers, we have citations. P1, paper 1, that is 30 citations, P2, 25, P3, 15, P4, 10, P5, 8, and P6, 5. So, how you can calculate number of paper have at least these citations? First paper, at least one citation, one or more. That means you are satisfying the requirement. P3, third paper, we have at least three citations. Already we have 15 citations. It identify the requirement. Same here, P6, sixth paper, it receives only five citations. So that is not covered in H index. So which papers are covered? Top five papers. So I can identify particular author have five index. That means they have five papers with at least five citations. This is the understanding of H index. Now I index, we have total number of papers are cited. As you can see here, we have citations count in the last bottom rectangle: 45, 30, 25, 18, 12, 11, 10, 9, and 5. So identified, we have total 9 papers that these are the published. How you can identify the I-10 index? So memorize one rule or understanding purpose. Number of papers have at least 10 citations are received publicly. So we have seven papers. They have identified they have total seven papers with at least 10 index. Now another that is G index. That is somewhat uh, critical aspect, and Web of Science are using to calculate site score or particular author's visibility. They are using G index. G papers, that means at least G square citations. G square citations, again we are illustrating at the bottom line. We have first paper have 60 citations. Number of paper is 1, 1 square is 1, so that requires, that is satisfied the requirement. Second paper, 2, 2 square, 4. Second paper have at least 4 citations, that also require satisfied. Third paper, third square, 3 square, 9. We have 25 citations. Fourth paper, fifth paper. So we have last one, G index. Total, we have 140 citations. We have citations in this particular paper with the 5 citations. You can also find out the I matrix, and we are making the quantitative and qualitative driven approach. Best practices for this particular citations, and we have now last segment. After that, we will conclude our session. Within 3 or 4 minutes, we will conclude it. Finally, we have a pathway how to select best journal. So, best journal that does not means more citations, or we are not a measure of reputed journals that is the best for us. We have to identify the scope of the area, index verification, quartile ranking, journal matrices, APC ethics, review transparency, review ethics, and fact detection. These 8 points we have to identify. These are the checklists. With this checklist, we can easily identify the journal in which uh, we are going to publish our paper. So if our paper is fit in the particular scope, we have good authenticate index, reputation for the ethics, review speed. Within 2 or 3 months, they will reviewed and answering to us, and they identify the lower risk. As a research scholar, we have to identify for one particular domain, one particular aspect, that is your problem statement or your title of the research. You can identify at least 2 journals. This is your task. Within this particular session, you can identify the journal 1 and journal 2, scope match, scopus of Web of Science, which quartile, what about the site score, what is SGR, review time, APC, ethics, fake reduction. So with these parameters, you can identify 2 journals. In these 2 journals, we can publish our paper, we can publish our article. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. If you have any question or if you have any doubt, we can discuss now. Makwana sir, Vishal sir, if you are listening me, if from the audience, if you have any doubt, I will stop my presentation here.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your expertise and knowledge. This will surely help the research scholars. Kindly share your PPT, sir. Thank you so much.
Definitely, sir. I will share my PPT to you, and we can share with the scholars. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay,
Thanks for
okay.
participation from the.
Sorry, sir.
Thank you so much.